How's it going? What's the one thing that you cannot have too many of in the shop? That's right, we're making another bender. Well, we're on. So we're gonna be making this thing out of... Oh, wrong bender. There we go. We're gonna be making this thing out of 6-inch channel with some big 1.5-inch pillow block bearings. Simple design. We're gonna have the same Harbor Freight pneumatic bottle jack as our pressure. Some V-groove bearings on the side, riding on some tracks to keep this thing from tilting back and forth. And this whole gantry comes up and twists the metal. This back wheel will be removable because eventually I want to make this thing electrically driven. But for now we're just making the bender. So, let's start cutting some steel, huh? So I'm measuring for all my holes that need to be tapped to attach the front and back plates on here. And I got to do that very precisely so I don't screw myself later. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to try the tapping head that came with my new mill/drill. See if that'll make my life any easier, because you already know how much I hate tapping holes. And if that thing works, I will be a happy, happy guy. Here goes nothing. My first run on the old JMD, and I'm using it as a drill press. So I've got this piece of channel clamped down in the T-slots on here, and I'm going to use the DRO to make sure all these holes for the bearings are perfectly perpendicular. Say that 3 times fast. So as it turns out, I don't have the right size collet to fit this tapping head in here. Even if I could, I couldn't fit the tapping head and the 6-inch piece. So we're stuck tapping this by hand. I'm tempted to just quit the whole project. Naturally, that means I'll use this until I break it. So the round stock I got for the linear rails is a little bit too big, so I gotta set it into the plate a little bit. And I could just go buy the right size round stock, it's real cheap, but I just got a mill, man. Come on. Ah yes, my specialty. Spending 2 hours doing something that could have been avoided by a 15-minute trip to the store. Feels good, man. We have everything milled, we have everything drilled and tapped. Now, before we finish assembling this, we need to put our bearing fixtures on this plate. Let's do it. So these are the bearing holders for the linear rails. This flat part, well, it's right into the side of the C-channel. These holes will be drilled out and have the bearing held on there with a bolt. Just like that. Now, in order to position them correctly on the, what are we gonna call it, the gantry, we gotta put our rails on here. So we'll just weld some round stock into these notches. Now that these rails are welded in place, I can line up these 2 pieces of channel and then kind of use that to guesstimate where my bearings are gonna go. And we'll do the same for the other side, and then we're gonna cut a couple notches for them. And although I'm enjoying using my mill for ridiculous stuff, I'm just gonna do this with a grinder. That's quick and easy. So now we gotta figure out what the best way is to get the spacing right on here. I'm thinking if I go ahead and weld this on, or tack this on, then I can use this on the other side to get the spacing right for the other set of rails. Stick that guy on. Beautiful.
See that, tubers?
It's really starting to take shape. I kind of want to try it before I finish it. Yeah, that's not going to happen. We need to turn these down a little bit. Bang. Well, that took forever. These are going to be where I mount my bending dies, I guess you'll call them. I'm realizing now I didn't need to cut a keyway in any of these except the top one, which is great because I don't have a good method to cut a keyway into the actual pulleys. Now, to make the pulleys, I had my local welding shop just cut these off for me. They got much better tools for cutting small sections accurately than me. These are a little bit oversized, so I'm just going to have to drill them out. Cut a keyway in the top one. For my sides, I'm gonna try and use washers because that'll make my life pretty easy. This doesn't really seem right, does it? Well. Oh my. So before I go any further on this thing, I want to actually test bend a piece because I'm a little wary of this thing racking front to back. All right, let's try this thing out. Aww. So we can't have front plates on this thing. It's just gonna cantilever. We gotta add some sort of bracing on the sides. All right, let's try again.
Oh, you suck.
So obviously we have some problems here with racking. And I have a solution. I ain't messing around anymore. So I've removed the angle iron. I've put this thing on its back. I tacked a piece of channel right here, pried it back, and tacked it in place. So these are all rigidly affixed parallel to each other. Now I'm going to grind off some of this plate to where it's perfectly in line with this. And then I will install my new angle iron and do the same on the other side. Okie doke, we got our beefcakey angle iron on there. I've ground these faces down a little bit just to make them smoother. Let's do it. It worked. Got some kinkage, but I think that's just bad form on my part. It is still racking side to side like that, but that's not that big of a problem. And once I actually have this jack fastened in there and centered, it'll be less of a problem. There are a couple things that need to be addressed. I'm gonna add Zerk fittings on the straps to help it slide up and down. I'm gonna add a couple springs, which will hopefully keep it from cantilevering side to side the way that it was. I'm gonna turn a new roller for the top here. That way I don't have this sleeve, because that's just another thing that can fail and I'm not gonna be using it. So then I just gotta fasten down the jack, paint the thing, and call it good. I'm thinking since I have limited room in this shop, I'm just gonna mount this thing at the bottom of old Smash Boy here. This can be my one-stop bending shop. The time has come. We'll remove this monstrous thing down here. Worst comes to worst, we get a nice fail video out of this. The internet loves those. Oh, we did it. And now an archetype of all good bender videos where I bend the hand wheel for the bender with the bender. Beautiful. Would you look at that? You can't even see it. Look at that beautiful wheel. So obviously this is in the way of the slip roller, but that's why it's detachable. Now we gotta strip this thing down, paint it, reinstall all the hardware, and then we can give this thing a proper test. Alrighty. Got it painted, got everything reinstalled. I put these springs on here, and I've got a new driving shaft with some splines cut in there to help grab onto the material. It's set up to do 1 inch, so let's do it. All right, that is not too bad, man. Let's try some 2-inch. Would you look at that? Seems to work pretty good. So, thing works all right. I only tested it up to 1x2 inch, but I think it would do 2x2 inch square tube just fine. A little bummed out that I didn't actually end up being able to add the front and back plates. It doesn't look as nice as I wanted it to, but it does work good, and that's what matters, right? I'm pretty happy with it. You'll see this thing get used in future videos. So if you like what you saw, maybe give me a like, maybe think about subscribing, and thanks so much for watching.